Imagine being accused of a crime you know you didn't commit. Your heart pounding as you sit in a cold, unfamiliar courtroom, the weight of 100 eyes pressing down on you. You're convicted not by hard evidence, no fingerprints, no DNA, but by the memories of others. Their recollections become the only proof that matters. The victims point to you in court, their certainty unshakable, their voices trembling with emotion as they relive the trauma. The jury believes them. The judge believes them. The entire courtroom seems to turn against you. Soon you're behind bars, your world reduced to concrete and steel. But the memory that put you there? It wasn't real. It was a phantom, conjured from the depths of someone else's mind. This isn't fiction. It's the story of Daniel Rourke, a man whose life was shattered by the justice system's unwavering faith in the power of human memory. We like to think of memory as a perfect recording, a mental video we can rewind and replay at will. But memory is fragile, easily warped by time, emotion, and suggestion. In the desperate search for answers, we sometimes create memories of things that never happened, filling in the blanks with imagination, fear, or the subtle influence of others. In the late 1980s, Daniel Rourke was convicted on the most compelling evidence the era could offer: eyewitness testimony, delivered with absolute conviction. The women who testified weren't lying, they truly believed he was their attacker. Their certainty was born from a controversial technique, forensic hypnosis, meant to unlock hidden memories, but sometimes creating new ones instead. Instead of recovering lost memories, hypnosis led them to remember things that never happened, details vivid, but entirely false. This case forces us to ask, what's more dangerous, a faded memory or a false one? When the line between truth and fiction blurs, justice itself is at risk. The echoes of this case still haunt our justice system today, a chilling reminder that sometimes the mind can be the most unreliable witness of all. In Texas, a string of home invasions left a community terrified. Over several months, a series of break-ins swept through quiet neighborhoods, with victims describing masked intruders and late-night terror. The police, under mounting public pressure, launched a massive investigation. The police, desperate for answers, focused on Daniel Rourke, a local man with a minor criminal record, but no history of violence. Rourke's name surfaced after a neighbor reported seeing someone similar near one of the crime scenes. There was no DNA, no fingerprints, just the victim's fragmented memories. The physical evidence led nowhere, and the case stalled. Investigators turned to hypnosis, hoping to unlock hidden details. At the time, forensic hypnosis was gaining popularity in law enforcement, touted as a way to recover lost memories from traumatized witnesses. Under hypnosis, the women's hazy recollections sharpened. They described the intruder's height, voice, and even the pattern on his shirt, details they hadn't mentioned before. Suddenly, they remembered faces, features, even clothing. Sketches drawn after hypnosis looked strikingly similar, and the descriptions began to align. When shown a photo lineup, their uncertainty vanished. The women who had previously hesitated now pointed to Rourke without doubt. They identified Rourke with total confidence. The case, once cold, suddenly seemed airtight. The hypnosis seemed to work, until experts realized these weren't recovered memories, but constructed ones. Psychologists warned that hypnosis could make witnesses more susceptible to suggestion, not more accurate. Subtle suggestions and leading questions during hypnosis planted new details. Even a simple nod or a word of encouragement could shape what witnesses remembered. The women's stories began to merge, and Rourke's face became the one they all remembered. Their accounts, once unique, now echoed each other almost word for word. The investigation shifted from seeking truth to confirming suspicion. Instead of following the evidence, detectives began building a case around Rourke. The tool meant to help had instead created a case out of thin air. With no physical evidence, the prosecution relied almost entirely on the hypnotized testimony. The prosecution now had what they needed: confident witnesses. In court, certainty often outweighs doubt, and the jury listened closely. But the foundation was dangerously flawed. The case rested on memories that had been shaped, not found. Memory itself was on trial and losing. The Rourke case would soon become a cautionary tale for police, prosecutors, and the courts. Memory isn't a video recording, it's a reconstruction, pieced together from fragments every time we recall it. Decades of research in cognitive science show that each act of remembering subtly changes the memory itself. Hypnosis makes this process even riskier by increasing suggestibility and blurring the line between real and imagined details. In a trance, people become highly open to new information, true or not. Studies have shown that hypnotized subjects can be led to remember events that never happened. A simple question, did the man have a mustache, can create a memory of a mustache that never existed. This is called confabulation, and it's been documented in both lab experiments and real criminal cases. The person isn't lying, they genuinely believe the new memory. In the 1990s, the Satanic Panic saw dozens of false accusations based on memories recovered under hypnosis. Hypnosis can make these false memories feel even more real than the truth. Psychologists call this memory hardening, the increased confidence in details, whether accurate or not. On the witness stand, this confidence is persuasive. Juries trust certainty, even when it's misplaced. But in cases like Rourke's, that certainty was manufactured by hypnosis, not by fact. In one famous case, a man was convicted based on a witness's hypnotically refreshed memory, only to be exonerated years later by DNA evidence. The women's original memories were fragmented by trauma, a common effect that makes details hard to recall. Hypnosis gave them clarity, but it was an illusion. The recovered memories felt vivid, but they weren't reliable. They filled in the gaps with details that fit the narrative investigators wanted, a phenomenon known as memory conformity. The result, a story that felt true but wasn't. In the US, several wrongful convictions have been overturned after courts recognized the dangers of hypnotically induced testimony. The very tool meant to reveal the truth had buried it instead, as scientific studies and real-world cases have shown. In Rourke's case, hypnosis didn't just distort memory, it destroyed justice, echoing a pattern seen in other wrongful convictions. The danger of false certainty became painfully clear, not just for Rourke, but for the entire justice system. The trial unfolded with all eyes on the witness stand. The prosecution's strategy was straightforward. Let the victims recount their ordeal in their own words, hoping their stories would sway the jury. Their testimony was raw, emotional, and unwavering. Each woman relived her trauma before a silent courtroom, their voices steady, even as tears fell. The prosecution pressed on, reinforcing the narrative of certainty and survival. The defense, however, faced an uphill battle. They argued the entire case rested on shifting ground. There was no physical evidence, only memories, and those memories had been shaped by hypnosis. The defense warned the jury about the dangers of suggestion, but their arguments seemed abstract compared to the emotional certainty of the witnesses. In the 1980s, the science of memory was still in its infancy. Few understood how easily memories could be altered, especially under hypnosis. The court relied on tradition and gut feeling, not on the emerging research that questioned the reliability of such testimony. The emotional weight in the courtroom was palpable. The jury saw not just witnesses, but survivors, women whose confidence and pain seemed undeniable. The defense's warnings about memory manipulation were drowned out by the power of the victim's certainty. Deliberations were brief. The jury returned a guilty verdict, convinced by the women's unwavering testimony. Rourke was sentenced to life in prison. The emotional stakes were devastating, families shattered, futures rewritten in a moment. The justice system, meant to protect the innocent, had failed. It mistook suggestion for truth and emotion for evidence. The verdict was built on a foundation of memories altered beyond recognition. An innocent man paid the ultimate price, his freedom lost, his life defined by a conviction built on a house of cards. The emotional toll extended far beyond the courtroom, haunting everyone involved. The consequences would echo for years, fueling debates about justice, memory, and the true cost of getting it wrong. The case became a cautionary tale, a reminder that the search for truth must never be clouded by the power of suggestion or the weight of emotion alone. Daniel Rourke spent years in prison, insisting on his innocence. Each day, he wrote letters to his family, clinging to hope despite the walls closing in. His mother never missed a visit, always telling him to keep fighting. The case seemed closed until a few determined journalists and legal experts began to dig. Rourke's family rallied the community, organizing vigils and reaching out to anyone who would listen. The lack of physical evidence was suspicious. Rourke's legal team faced setback after setback as courts refused to reopen the case. They re-examined the hypnosis sessions, searching for any sign of misconduct. Memory experts like Dr. Elizabeth Loftus listened to the tapes and found shocking evidence. The hypnotist had used leading questions and subtle praise, planting new details in the witnesses' minds. The experts traced exactly when false memories were introduced and cemented. Rourke's family kept a timeline of every legal hurdle, never letting the case fade from public view. Armed with this analysis, Rourke's lawyers argued his conviction was based on unreliable, contaminated testimony. They faced fierce opposition from prosecutors unwilling to admit error. The legal battle was long. Every hearing brought hope and heartbreak. Courts are slow to admit mistakes. Rourke's appeals were denied again and again before finally being reconsidered. But the scientific evidence was overwhelming. Hypnosis is not a reliable tool for memory retrieval. The tide began to turn. Eventually, the Texas Court of Criminal Appeals reviewed the case. The family held their breath as the decision loomed. They found the hypnotic testimony fundamentally unreliable and prejudicial. The courtroom erupted in emotion. In 1996, after nearly a decade in prison, Rourke's conviction was overturned. He walked free, finally reunited with his family. He was finally free, but the years lost could never be returned. The scars of injustice lingered. The truth had come out, but the damage was done. For Rourke and his loved ones, the fight for justice left wounds that would never fully heal. Rourke walked out of prison a free man, but the scars of his ordeal ran deep. He spoke of sleepless nights haunted by memories of isolation and the pain of missing his daughter's childhood milestones. He lost a decade, family, career, freedom, battling despair and the stigma of a crime he didn't commit. His mother described the agony of watching her son fade behind bars, powerless to help. His exoneration was a victory, but it couldn't restore what was lost. The years apart left wounds that time alone cannot heal. The women who testified also suffered. One described the crushing guilt of realizing her memory, shaped by hypnosis, had helped send an innocent man to prison. They endured trauma, then learned their testimony had helped convict an innocent man. The sense of responsibility weighed heavily, leading some to seek counseling for years. The realization brought guilt, confusion, and a sense of betrayal by the system they trusted. One witness said, "I thought I was helping. Instead, I became part of the mistake." They were victims twice, first of their attacker, then of a flawed investigation. Their pain was compounded by the knowledge that justice had failed them too. The public often sees these stories in black and white, but the reality is complex. The rush to solve a crime can overshadow the need for careful, unbiased investigation. The system failed everyone involved, turning good intentions into tragedy. Investigators relied on techniques later proven unreliable, and safeguards meant to protect the innocent fell short. The emotional burden lingers for all: Rourke, the witnesses, their families, and the community. Each person carries a piece of the pain, their lives forever altered. This case shows the true cost of wrongful conviction, pain that ripples far beyond prison walls. It exposes the urgent need for reform, and for systems that value truth over closure. When the pursuit of conviction outweighs the pursuit of truth, everyone pays. Only by confronting these failures can we hope to build a more just system. Daniel Rourke's exoneration sent shockwaves through the legal system, but its impact continues to ripple out even today. His case became a landmark, forcing courts to rethink the use of hypnosis in criminal investigations and sparking national debates about the reliability of memory. States began to ban or restrict hypnotically refreshed testimony, recognizing the risk of false memories. Today, more than half of U.S. states have strict limits or outright bans, and similar reforms are being considered worldwide. The lesson was clear. Confidence is not the same as accuracy. Even the most certain witness can be mistaken, especially when memory is manipulated. The justice system must rely on science, not just belief. Courts now consult memory experts more often, and juries are warned about the limits of eyewitness testimony. The Rourke case taught police to protect the integrity of witness memory from the start. Many departments now use double-blind lineups and record all interviews to prevent contamination. For women, the story is especially important. since their testimony is often the key evidence in such cases. The case reminds us to treat every witness with care and respect, ensuring their voices are heard without distortion. The system must safeguard, not contaminate, their memories. This means ongoing training, oversight, and support for both witnesses and investigators. In the end, the case leaves us with 3 lessons. Confidence does not equal truth. Science must guide investigations, and justice means protecting the innocent as fiercely as punishing the guilty. These lessons are echoed in every wrongful conviction overturned and every reform passed. The fight for truth never ends, and neither should our vigilance. As new challenges arise, the Rourke case reminds us to question, to learn, and to keep pushing for a justice system worthy of our trust.